It's Cooking with Chrissy, and today the temperatures are cooling down, so I decided I'm just going to make a big pot of soup and warm everybody up. So today we're going to do homemade chicken and rice soup, gluten-free. So let's start out with a big giant pot for your stove, okay? This is where everything is going to go in. We're going to put a little bit of olive oil. I just like to drizzle maybe a tablespoon of olive oil. I don't really measure that, kind of just do it by eye, but I'll give you measurements, about a tablespoon. We're going to chop up one medium-sized shallot. Go ahead and do that. I like to use shallots rather than onions. They don't hurt your eyes as much, and they have a much better flavor and are sweeter. So also they are better on my stomach. They don't aggravate my stomach as much. So I've been using shallots for years. So just rough chop that. You know, chicken and rice soup doesn't have to be perfect. It's a hearty meal. It's a warm your soul kind of meal. So you want to just rough chop it. You don't want huge chunks of shallot in your soup where you just feel like you're eating a chunk of shallot, but you don't have to make them microscopic. Plus, the faster you can cook it, the quicker you can eat it. Shallots definitely do not make me cry as much when I am using them, which is always a plus, because then my makeup doesn't run all the way down my face while I'm cooking. Alright, now we got a rough chopped shallot here. Let's take out the brown pieces. We're going to put that in our pan. We are not going to turn it on yet. We are going to do the carrots next. I have already peeled about 4 medium-sized carrots. So we're going to rough chop those guys into bite-sized pieces. You can turn your heat on now. Turn it on to medium high, just to get it warm, to get those shallots starting to cook and release those sugars. I also just like to rough chop my carrots. I want you to be able to tell there's carrot inside this soup. Plus, I actually love carrots. This is a great spin-off for chicken noodle soup. If you are trying to go gluten-free, you can still get all of the benefits of a chicken noodle soup. You just don't have the noodles, so you can keep it gluten-free and still enjoy a nice bowl of warm soup. You want to start adding the longest cooked ingredient to the shortest amount of time. So, because I always like to do a base with any sort of shallot, carrots would be your next hardest item to cook down. They're going to take the longest. So that's why I go in this order. I always try to put in what is going to take the longest to cook. So that's going to go in first. And the shortest amount of time is the garlic. That's going to go in last. And this is a great base pretty much for every soup. Like if you were to make a vegetable soup or anything like that, minestrone soup, this is my base. I use it for pretty much all my soups. It's just shallot, carrots, and garlic. I'm putting celery, which I have about 2 celery sticks here cut up. And I'm going to chop these into small pieces. Celery is literally my worst favorite food in the entire world. I hate it with a passion, but I will eat it in a soup. I will not eat it when it's crunchy. I find celery to be a useless food, and it tastes disgusting. But it melts in your mouth when it's cooked, so I'll handle it in soup. I feel like you're missing something if you don't use celery. Like, the soup is just like, it's good, but it's not like, it's like missing that key component of chicken noodle soup. And celery, I feel like, you could use celery salt. That would still give you the celery flavor. But I'm going with the real thing here. I'm going all in. But I chop it small because it is my least favorite food. I really don't want to taste it. So I want it to cook pretty good. Melt down into this broth. Okay. Next, we're going to use 6 cloves of garlic. I've already peeled these. I haven't peeled these. I've taken these off the bulb. And I'm going to use my handy dandy garlic crusher. Love this thing. So what you do is you use the flat side of this garlic crusher and you're going to put it down on the garlic clove and you're going to pound it. And that's going to break apart the skin so you can crush it. Then when you have your big pile of garlic cloves, you're going to crush it using this grated side, like a boat, back and forth. You're going to rock it. It looks like a little boat. I was trying to scrape up some of the garlic I had in my garlic bowl because I always have garlic at all times, and I was actually running out for the first time in years. So I was trying to find like little tiny pieces I could use for this recipe, not knowing I was almost out of garlic. So we're going to take a big giant spoon and throw this around. Maybe turn up the heat a little bit to a medium high. It smells already like chicken soup. All right. Let's take all these off. And we're going to crush up this garlic. And you rack it back and forth. And then your garlic comes through the grated section. And that's how you get minced garlic. I'll put a link below for this little handy dandy tool. It's literally my favorite tool in the whole entire kitchen. Then we can take the back of the spoon and you just, not like that, but like this. You push it off of the little grate and in the soup it goes. I use this garlic tool like all the time because we use a lot of garlic in our food. And another good thing I like to use it for is mincing garlic, and I'll put it in olive oil and I'll marinate it in the olive oil, and then I will spread that all over our pizza. So good. All right. Let's sweat these vegetables, okay? Sweating the vegetables means let's let all the sugars and all of the juices come out of this, all of these vegetables. It smells so good. It's like so aromatic in here. Turn it up just a little bit. We want to get a nice translucent color on the shallot. You don't have to fully cook these vegetables because they're going to cook in the broth. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some salt. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. This is a half, so I need 2 of these. We need 1 teaspoon of thyme, dried thyme, because thyme goes really good with chicken. And we are going to throw 1 bay leaf in this pot. And the trick is for the bay leaves that I leave it in there the whole time, and if you're served the bay leaf when it's time to eat this, then you're the lucky one. You won the prize. You won the bay leaf. And then we're going to need a tablespoon of parsley, dried parsley. Mix that all around. get all that salt and all those herbs on all of the vegetables. All right, starting to get good in here. All right, and then we're going to use 3 boxes. They are 32 ounces each, so there's 4 cups of broth in here. I like chicken stock, and of course I like the Kroger brand, Simple Truth, but you can find this in other brands as well. And I like stock better than broth. It's a little bit heartier, and it's a little darker. So we're going to use 3 boxes of this. There's 4 cups of each, so that's 12 cups of broth. Now we can, I was going to say turn up the heat, but we are already at medium high, so we're going to leave it like that. Okay, and one more. Alright, we've added all the broth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this stock simmer on, I'm going to let it come to a boil, and then I'm going to let it simmer for 30 minutes until the vegetables are cooked. That's about when the vegetables will be cooked. And then we're going to come back and we're going to add a half a cup of rice, white rice, and 4 chicken tenderloins cut up. Okay, so like I just cut them and then I'll shred them inside of this chicken soup later, but I'll cut them into little bite-sized pieces into the broth. And I'll show you how to do that after we come back, after this has been sitting and cooked all through the vegetables and all the flavors have marinated and married each other. And we will come back to this and add the broth and the chicken. So stay tuned. And we're back. This has been simmering, actually it's been cooking on about a medium-low heat for 30 minutes. The carrots are perfectly cooked, the celery is perfectly cooked, everything has marinated nicely together, and I taste tested the broth and it's perfectly seasoned. So we're going to take the top off. We're going to add in our final ingredients. I like to use chicken tenderloins, white meat chicken tenderloins, and I already like cut them up and like make them pretty in this little Tupperware, like trim anything off that I don't want to eat. So I'm actually going to use 4 chicken tenderloins, and I just like to take my cooking scissors and cut them into little tiny chunks right into the broth. So you'll get like a tiny little chicken chunk every time you take a nice warm sip of soup. It smells like fall and warm chicken noodle soup in the house, and that's amazing. Once we're done cutting all these pieces of chicken up, that was 1, let's do 2. We are going to add in a half a cup of white rice, and we're going to let this cook on low for probably another 20 minutes before the rice is finished cooking. And once the rice is finished cooking, game on. You can eat it up. You can store it in an airtight container for future consumption tomorrow. You can even freeze it. So if you want to make a big batch of this and then freeze it in little containers and just defrost it as needed, you could do that too. That's always good. So if you make a big batch and you're feeling like under the weather, you're not feeling too hot, and you just want some chicken soup, you're like, oh yeah, I gotta go to the freezer. I made a big batch for this very day. Alright, so this is 3 and 4. I just find cutting the chicken is easy because it doesn't dirty a dish or a knife, but I just hold it and chop away, and the only thing that got dirty was my hands and the knife and the scissor. Plus I feel like I can get it like a little smaller cutting it. And there we go. Okay, so stir that around. Let all that chicken soak in all that delicious broth, flavorful broth. And then we'll put this over here. We are going to take my favorite rice, Lundeberg. This is my favorite rice that I like to use. I'll post a link below for you. We're going to do a half a cup of this rice. And I don't think I have quite a half a cup in that cup. So we are going to combine that. Okay, half a cup of rice. If I could give Lundberg one suggestion, make the mouth of the bag a little bigger so I can get a scoop in there. I always have to pour it. Okay. Half a cup of rice, and this is what makes it gluten-free, no noodles. We're switching it to rice. So your stomach will thank you. So go ahead and stir that around and mix up the rice so it doesn't all fall to one place at the bottom of the pan. Smell it. Smells amazing. Okay. Now we're going to put the top on. We're going to go to medium high. We're going to go to low high. So on the low setting, but on the higher end of low. Okay? We're going to let this simmer about 20 minutes, and you are going to have the best chicken and rice soup ever. So enjoy.